Dead or behind bars. Dead or behind bars. I just don't stop. I just don't stop.
Only 6 out of every 100 arrests are for violent crimes, and only 1/2 of 1% are for more serious crimes like rape and murder.
Even though the homicide death of young people between the ages of 15 and 19 rose by 61%, still, the overwhelming majority of arrests of the 2 million teenagers each year don't have nothing to do, little or nothing to do with violent crime.
But nevertheless, more and more teens are being arrested and incarcerated.
The GOP also wants to eliminate most prevention programs in the crime bill. On the hit list, money for drug courts, gang intervention, and early childhood programs targeting kids who are at risk.
And I'm tired of hearing about rehabilitation, education. When you do the crime, you do the time.
Forget this generation of criminals. You're never going to make them any better. They're lost, they're gone.
If it wasn't for knowledge, if knowledge wasn't a weapon, they would not have denied it. You would not have hung slaves for trying to read a book for 400 years. It's a weapon. When I learned how to write in jail, I didn't have to punch a cop out anymore. Now I could get an action to show cause. Petition 70, Article 79. Redress. Litigation. Oh man, they hate that.
Go down to Breakfast Club. It's time, let's go.
This is very far from rehabilitation, because in order to be rehabilitated, you must have been habilitated at first. And many of the kids that come from the inner urban community have never even been habilitated. So to rehabilitate them is a falsehood. So we build a foundation here and create an atmosphere that allows a child or a young growing man to understand what he will have to do to be successful in the work and society environment.
When I first began investigating the history of college programs in prison, I was told the story begins with Attica.
Attica was the turning point in America for a spotlight on prisons and what was taking place in prisons, because of the number of people that was killed, because of the way in which it was done, and because of the voices that came out of Attica, which were voices that previously had not been heard.
When I first entered prison in the 40s, Attica was famed for being impregnable. No way could you do anything with Attica because it was 4 different yards and they were separated. And these guys did do something.
There were a whole series of conditions that were degrading and inhumane, which led prisoners to begin to protest these conditions, and there was a general rebellion throughout the prison.
1,000 prisoners took over 4 cell blocks of Attica State Prison about 9:30.
There were approximately 1,500 men involved in the rebellion, and they asked for a neutral observer committee from New York City and throughout the state to come and observe the conditions.
As a member of the New York State Legislature, I was involved in prison reforms for the last 2 or 3 years. So when I heard, I immediately went to Attica and asked to go in. We got a list of about 30-some or 31 demands, and we took those back out to the commissioner for him to respond.
The demands were education, decent food, the right to practice their religion, whatever it was. People just wanted to be treated like human beings. Nobody was asking that, you exonerate us from what we did. We know we made a mistake, but give us an opportunity to do something about the mistakes that we made, because we're all going back in the community. Give us something to go back in and give us some tools.
At the penitentiary in Lompoc, they have 3 different product operations. They do electronic cable assemblies, they do print shop, and they have a sign factory. Then at the Lompoc low security facility next door, they do office furniture. At the Dublin facility in eastern San Francisco, they have a drapery factory and a data entry operation, and they're doing mattress recycling as well, taking mattresses apart, not producing a product, but taking them apart into components and selling them to avoid landfill. efforts. In Boron, California, we do repair services for the military. We do repairing transmissions, forklifts, and it's a service operation. And then in Terminal Island, California, we have a metal operation that does lockers and metal products for the military and other GSA and other customers.
We have to let the politicians know that while they profess to be in favor of creating jobs, expanding the economy, doing good things that will benefit the people of this country, that by allowing prison labor of the type that Unicor's involved in, and other companies such as TWA and even AT&T, which has dabbled into the prison labor pool, we have to let them know that we know that they are lying to us. If they really cared, they would never support in what should be a free society, in a so-called free enterprise system, that prison slave labor would be used to line the pockets of any corporate entity in this country, and it must end, and we have to lead the fight, and we will be successful. Thank you.
This is American justice. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy. Now, if I'm wrong, put me in jail. But if you can't prove that if democracy is not hypocrisy, then don't put your hands on me. Democracy is hypocrisy. If democracy means freedom, why aren't our people free? If democracy means justice, why don't we have justice? If democracy means equality, why don't we have equality?
Black people should understand that the New African Independence Movement is not new. The New Africa, the term New Africa is new, but the struggle for self-determination and the struggle for independence on these shores is a struggle as old as the slavery that of black people who've been brought here.
First started, we had a police alert patrol, and we would patrol the community. If we saw the police brutalizing anyone, we would put an end to this. Usually the police wouldn't brutalize anyone if we were on hand because we were armed, and if the police arrested the individual, we'd follow him to the jail and bail the individual out, whether he was a Panther or not. And we would gain many recruits like this, so therefore the community started to say that, well, these people are really concerned about our welfare.
I go through Watts. I go through Chicago. I go through Harlem. And I see that the people in the what's called the ghetto, the black communities or the colonies or whatever you want to call it, were treated almost exactly the way we just got through treating Viet Cong or Vietnamese people in Vietnam. So I begin to draw parallels that the police departments in these various situations in these cities were actually the same thing we were in Vietnam, occupying forces. They didn't live in the communities. They came from another area. They didn't know the inhabitants of that community. So, and they were exploiting, they were imprisoning, killing.
We just want the courts to make sure we have peers on the jury or people from the black community as defined by the Jive Constitution of the so-called United States.
My name is Mumia Abu Jamal. I'm a journalist, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and an African American. I live in the fastest growing public housing tract in America. Currently, I'm a writer and public radio commentator. I've been a resident on Pennsylvania's death row for more than 15 years.
Mumia Abu Jamal is a former Black Panther journalist and radio commentator.
He wrote about racism, police brutality, and repression, especially as experienced by the black community. He was an outspoken critic of the Philadelphia Police Department, who was framed in the death of a white policeman and has been on death row since 1982. Over the years, there has been a growing national and international movement to stop his execution and to free him.
They tried to cage me in all the ways they could. They tried to kill me in the street, you know. And every attempt they've made has been a bitter failure for them. And that's why, when you think about it, why are these people so upset that this guy, Jamal, wrote a book? Well, they're upset because now their sons and grandsons are going to be reading about that nigga, and about revolution, and about the teachings of John African, and about the MOVE organization. Well, that's there. So, you know, as long as people is fighting, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. You're doing what's right. As long as people are rebelling against this repression,